All right. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to UXI-115 UX Process and Theories. We are in week 5, and this week we will be discussing app design. So I'm excited for you guys. We are almost there. We are in week 5. We have a few more weeks to go, and we'll be complete. And you'll also complete redesigning your restaurant app. So let's go ahead and get started with today's agenda. So for today's agenda, we're going to, of course, do a course overview. Also, we'll discuss a recap of week 4, and then we will do an overview of week 5. I'll also provide you with some resources and then some reminders at the end of this live session. And again, if you are not able to attend the live session or you have to leave early, it's totally understandable. This live session is being recorded and saved under web meetings, so you can always go back and reference to it. And then you can also check out the class YouTube for previous live sessions and this live session as well. Also, please keep your video on and your mics muted, but I understand if you have to take your video off of or if you have to take your mic off of mute, please let me know if you cannot see the video presentation or you're having any issues with audio. Also, again, just to engage in the chat, I will have some questions for you guys. And if you are not able to attend and you're watching this as a pre-recording, please make sure to go back, watch the entire presentation. That way you can submit your takeaways and receive credit for not attending this class. So let's go ahead and get started. So for our course overview, in this course, you will learn key theories and processes to help you create useful, usable, and also delightful products that answer users' needs. You will also work with software tools such as Adobe XD as well as Figma. So for your course project, throughout this course, you will focus on redesigning an existing restaurant's mobile app by identifying problems, performing user research, also producing an improved product design, and conducting usability testing. Now, the goal of our course project is to produce a better user experience in the existing restaurant app that you selected in week 1. And then we're going to create a UX case study asset to add to your growing capstone portfolio. So let's go back and recap week 4. Now, week 4, we discussed information architecture. Now, why is information architecture important and what is information architecture? If you remember from week 4, we discussed that information architecture, or IA, is a discipline that focuses on the organization of information within digital products. Now, IA helps to make information more accessible to users and to improve the overall usability of websites and other digital platforms. Now, as you can see, when you are creating in a UX design, we first want to start building out the IA before we start implementing and working on the UI elements. Now, you can take a look at this GIF here, and we're going to just further discuss the recap for week 4. Now, in week 4, we had an activity that you had to do and submit for your class assignment. Now, that activity that you had to submit was card sorting along with customer journey mapping. But specifically, we're going to discuss card sorting. So card sorting is used to help design and evaluate the information architecture of a site. It helps to determine how people think, categorize, group, and categorize and group different topics. Now, card sorting is really good because you want to use that feedback to build the website structure, decide what to put on your homepage of your website, as well as label and categorize different groups and themes so you can help your users when they are going through the process of navigating either your website or your application. So I have a video here for you. In this video, again, we are still doing a recap of week 4, but you guys created your own cart sorting and completed the assignment, and you did it in Miro. So I'm just going to discuss how to conduct a remote cart sorting because this is something that you will have to do for your Yellow Dick discussion this week. So let's go ahead and jump into the remote cart sorting video. Please let me know if you're having,
the first time
I'm sorry, please let me know if you're having any issues viewing this video or any audio issues. You can take yourself off of mute, or you can also send me a message in the chat. Okay, let's go ahead and watch the video.
I still remember the first time I observed a card sort. I stood by enraptured, watching users group little cards with items found in a grocery store, bread, shampoo, pet food, crackers, into these little piles. Some users made groups that were just what I would have done, while others created categories that were delightfully surprising to me. It blew my mind, this simple technique for uncovering how target users think about an information space. And I was hooked. That first time was a traditional paper-based card sort. But what if you can't do a card sort in person? What if you need to do a card sort remotely? Well, you can, and it really isn't terribly different. The basic formula is the same as with traditional paper sorting. You, the researcher, choose a set of topics. These are 40 to 60 items that represent the main content on the site and that are all roughly on equal hierarchical levels. So broccoli and carrots, not broccoli and vegetables. You make sure you vary the terms and the order on the cards to prevent users from keyword matching. So instead of party invitations, party favors, and party decorations, you might try invitations, party favors, and decorations. Choose your card sorting software. Instead of putting those topics onto paper cards, you're going to load them onto digital cards using the tool that you've chosen. So there's two main options: a specialized card sorting tool, which is designed specifically for this purpose, or a DIY do-it-yourself approach. Specialized tools are the most common and also the easiest to set up and to use for analysis. They involve a drag and drop interface where users will move cards from one column into a work area where they can then group the cards and eventually create labels. Now, the real place that these tools shine is in their analysis capabilities, which show data in the form of similarity matrices. Which percentage of participants grouped any two cards together? They also show dendrograms, which help you see popular groups of cards. These tools have a big advantage because the calculations and summaries are available immediately after you finish collecting your data, unlike with paper cards where you have to manually enter in all of those card sorting results. The second option is your DIY approach. Now, this is a good fallback if you absolutely cannot access a specialized tool. In this approach, you pick any online tool that will allow you to do some basic affinity mapping, moving virtual stickies around. Then to do the quantitative analysis, you can find tutorials online to help you make those calculations using your standard spreadsheet applications. Next, just like in-person studies, you recruit your target users. Now, it's essential that they reflect your typical users, the same knowledge level and familiarity with your topics and your content as people who would actually be using your website or product. So you invite them to a virtual meeting where they can then share their screen and ideally a camera so that you can see their facial expressions as they're working. And you direct them to your card sorting tool where they can then begin the task. Now, when I introduce a task, similar to in person, I'll explain to them, okay, one by one, you're going to take each of these items and just begin to organize them into groups that make sense to you. If you're not sure about what a card is or where to put it, just leave that off to the side, create a separate area. Then I explain, I'm going to sit back and let you do the work on your own. I'll mute myself, but I'll still be able to hear you. So if you have a question or you want to just let me know when you're done, we'll talk afterwards. Now, when the user's finished, this is when you get to debrief. You get to ask them questions. I'll often just start very open-ended and say, tell me about how you created these groups. Why did you decide to put some items together? Were there some items that seemed like they could belong in two places or more? Once you're finished with all of your questions, you can thank the user and tell them how they're going to receive their incentive. Typically in a remote session, this might be an online gift card. Now you might be thinking, wow, this all sounds great. Why would anybody do paper? Well, remote card sorting does have one big drawback or one risk, which is that the usability of the tool can impact the success of the session. right? For users, sorting digitally is harder than sorting paper cards. And if you think about it, wouldn't you rather deal out a deck of 52 cards than drag and drop 52 items? Some software, it doesn't work as well on certain devices, or it gets buggy in the browser, or there's inline scrolling that makes it hard for users to see, all of the groups that they've created digitally. And all of this can mean that users are more likely to get fatigued in this digital environment. And if that happens, they might end up sorting cards just to be done with working in the interface. And lastly, you might wonder, well, can we do remote unmoderated card sorting where there's no facilitator? Sure, you can. I recommend first you get that qualitative feedback with those debriefs so you can understand a little bit more about why people are grouping things together, and then do some unmoderated sessions. By adding those unmoderated sessions, you can get faster feedback and a little bit more data, just larger number of sessions run without necessarily using the researcher time. So there you have it. If you're thinking about remote card sorting, it's not too different from traditional paper-based sorting. Pick your terms, pick your tool and your typical users, and you're on your way.
All right, you guys. So that was a great video for you to reference. And I'll also have all of the slides available for you located underneath the announcement section. So you are able to go back and preview this video as well as some other resources that I will provide you in this course. And so we are going to go ahead and get started with conducting a remote card sorting. So I know that it's not a lot of you guys in this morning's live session. So instead of doing a breakout session, what I'm going to have you do is you're going to take this class activity and you're going to do this in your yellow dick discussion. That way you can have more classmates work in doing some of your card sorting assignments. That way you can get more feedback. And you're going to use this feedback when you're going to recreate the chosen restaurant app. So instead of doing the breakout rooms, again, I am going to leave an announcement for other classmates who are not able to attend this live session. And I'll also reiterate this for our live session later on this afternoon, that this assignment is going to be your yellow dick discussion. So instead of doing an in-class assignment, we're just going to move it on to yellow dick. So let's move forward. And we're going to go over week 5. So week 5 is all about the app design. So I know you guys are excited about the app design. We did a lot of UX research prior to week 5. So in this week, you will recreate the app that you chose. It was a restaurant app. You can either choose Panera Bread was one of an option. Also, Texas Roadhouse was another option. So you're going to recreate 4 different screens. Typically, it is going to be the account screen or the sign up screen, the menu screen. And we want to see how you're able to enhance the restaurant app. And then again, you are able to use this when you are going to present in your presentation when we are in week 7, and also use in your portfolio for week 8. So before we dive into the app design within itself, let's discuss the software programs that you're going to be using. You're going to use Adobe XD, and then you're also going to use Figma. So you can choose between the two. I have some video footage here to discuss the difference between the two, and then you can choose whichever you prefer. They are similar, but there are some slight differences. But what is Adobe XD and Figma? So let's do an icebreaker before we just dive into the definitions or the descriptions of Adobe XD and Figma and talk about their features and functionalities. Now, I would like for you guys to rate your experience in Adobe XD or Figma. Now, I want you to leave in the chat. You can send this directly to me. A 1 if you consider yourself a beginner, and a 2 if you consider yourself an expert. And again, the question is, rate your experience in Adobe XD and Figma. Now, if you are not able to attend this live session, this is one of the questions that I'm asking you to submit over to me through Canvas inbox. And that way, so you can receive your credit for not attending this morning's live session. So I'm going to give you guys just a few more minutes to go ahead and submit. And then we'll move on to what is Adobe XD and Figma and how you can use those programs and softwares to recreate your app design. Okay, so let's see. Adobe XD and Figma, a lot of beginners, and that is okay. So in this course, I'm going to show you an overview of both programs, Adobe XD and Figma. You will select the one that you feel like is best, but you do have access because you are enrolled in the Bryan University course. You have access to Adobe XD. It comes with your software that is provided to you. But Figma, you can sign up for Figma for free as well. So Adobe XD and Figma are used to create UI UX prototype designs such as web design, app design, brand design, and game design. So when do you use Adobe XD? You use Adobe XD or Figma to design low fidelity or high fidelity websites or mobile applications. You can also use Adobe XD and Figma to create sketches, digital wireframes to lay out your ideas, add text and images, as well as export and share your designs, which is something that we're going to do within week 5. Now let's do an overview of week 5. So this week, you'll create the first iteration of your app redesign using Adobe XD or Figma. You will also be sharing your card sorting activities in your Yellow Dig discussion instead of in this live event. And you will also explore other UX design tools. Another is Figma. So you'll sign up for the free Figma account if you decide to use Figma, and then you'll complete the exercise that is in the Yellow Dig discussion. And you will want to gain the exposure to many different design tools as you may need to use them in the workplace. So some objectives for week 5 in regards to the topic of app design. We're going to explain prototypes versus wireframing, understand types of fidelity design, as well as popular techniques. We're also going to discuss the features of Adobe XD and Figma, create the first version of your app redesign, and then also give usability feedback on your designs. So in this video, I wanted you guys to understand the difference between prototypes and wireframes, and then which is better. So in this video, if you're having any issues, send over a message in the chat so I can fix any video or audio issues, but I'm gonna go ahead and play this video and then we'll move on. Prototypes versus wireframes.
Imagine explaining all of Facebook's features to someone who has never used it. How would they remember how it all worked? Even if they remembered, what if their interpretation was different than what you said? The functionality of web and mobile applications get lost in translation often. There are plenty of processes and tools that software teams use to communicate how an app will work. Two of the most popular are wireframes and prototypes. Wireframes are simple black and white blueprints of an application's layout and functionality, while a prototype is a much more in-depth rendering of an application's design and functionality. Prototyping takes much longer and is generally more expensive. For an entrepreneur who is in the ideation phase, wireframes are a great tool you can leverage. They will help you convey your idea to designers, software teams, and potential partners. Aside from communication, there are other major benefits to wireframing your software ideas, with the first one being a very clear visual representation. Software teams go through a design and planning process that includes wireframing. This visual representation makes it easier for developers to build out the required page structure and take your ideas' well-defined features and visually map them out on the page. This will help prevent miscommunications with the development team, allowing you to spend more time validating and iterating over the customer discovery and market validation. Another Another major benefit of wireframing is that it allows a major focus on user experience. Wireframes are grayscale. This is great from a user experience planning perspective. No time is spent designing individual components or worrying about animations. The core focus is the layout of the page, and more importantly, how a user will interact with the items on the pages. If you map out exactly how you want a user to interact with your app or website, you can build designs to promote those paths. The next benefit of wireframing is that it allows you to be proactive, not reactive. If you're working on a development project with a software agency like Woodhouse, they will almost always want to start with wireframes. When working with any sort of software team, it is crucial to start with a low fidelity functionality and design planning step. Building out the wireframes tends to expose potential issues that could show up during development. Innovating around these issues during planning will correlate to major savings during development. Another benefit to wireframing is that it will help define your minimum viable product. Some features might be very complicated while not providing much value to the user. If you or the software team are struggling to wireframe a low priority feature, then it's potentially too complicated for an MVP. Think of wireframing as a first aid. At this stage of planning, it is still a relatively affordable commitment financially compared to development. This gives you a great opportunity to work with an agency or freelancer on the wireframes. You'll be able to build the relationship with a designer and account manager before deciding on moving on to the next steps. If you have an app idea or business venture around a tech product, taking your first steps to get the wireframes completed is a great idea. They are an invaluable tool that helps pave the way to the future of your product.
All right. So we're going to move forth and talk about what is fidelity. Now, design fidelity refers to the level of detail, functionality, and realism. There are 3 levels of fidelity: low fidelity, medium fidelity, and then high fidelity. Now, the most common that you'll hear is low fidelity and high fidelity. And we'll discuss this in the next slide. Now, fidelity of a prototype in wireframe refers to how it conveys the look and feel of the product. Now, let's discuss the difference between low fidelity and then high fidelity. Low fidelity, considered, you might hear this as low-fi, is the fastest way to translate high-level design and use to test user flow functionality rather than the visual appearance of the product itself. And then we have high fidelity or hi-fi. It appears and functions similar to the actual product, and is usually created when ready to test with real users and you get the final design approval. Now, this approval may be from your team or your stakeholder, management, but lo-fi is at the beginning of the design, and then hi-fi is towards the end. Now, the 2 popular techniques for lo-fi and hi-fi prototyping, lo-fi prototyping techniques are paper prototypes and hand drawings. And then you have the second, which is clickable wireframes. Now, if we're discussing hi-fi prototyping techniques, you have your digital prototypes and then your coded prototypes. So again, you will start creating as lo-fi prototypes, which is your paper prototypes and your hand drawings, even your clickable wireframes, and then you'll move on through the process after you receive your feedback, and you will create your digital prototypes and your coded prototypes, which is considered your hi-fi. Now, in this picture, you can tell the difference between lo-fi and hi-fi. Now, lo-fi isn't as detailed. It's just a few boxes. It's just placeholders, just so the team, you will work with a team to understand where things will go. And it's, again, the fastest way to create a design. And then once you get approval and you create those clickable wireframes, and everything looks good, then your team or your stakeholder or management will tell you, okay, it's time to put more effort into creating the hi-fi, which is a replica of the final design. Now let's do an overview of Adobe XD. Now, again, I told you I would provide you with 2 different resources. One video is going to do an overview of Adobe XD, and then the second video after this will show you an overview of Figma. And then you can decide which program you would like to use, software you would like to use in order to complete your app redesign. So this is part one of the assignment. So when you go to the modules and you click on the assignment for week 5, there are 2 videos. This is the very first video. There's a second video that you will have to watch on your own. But this very first video, I wanted to go over with the entire class, just in case if you have any questions.
This is a video to help you learn your way around Adobe XD. Just an intro video. It's very simple, easy to use. In comparison to other Adobe applications, I think it's actually easier. But there's very simple functionality that you need to understand to use, and I'll show you some tips and tricks as well. So this is your home screen for Adobe XD, and you can see I've got a few files in here. And this is the example that we're going to use to learn our way around. It's similar to what you're doing, but it's not quite the same. You have settings here if you were creating an app, or if you're creating a website, Instagram story as well. You have a learn. You definitely want to check this out. There's some really good tutorials out there. Adobe XD has some collaboration function, which you're going to use and understand. It's very, very useful. Good function to use to help get feedback. It's how you do usability testing. It's one method, but extremely useful. If you look over here, again, tutorials, and they talk about CC libraries. So if you can find anything that you create in Adobe Creative Cloud and libraries, you can utilize that across all the Adobe applications. So colors, fonts, images, videos, anything that you store in the libraries. And that goes for Adobe XD as well. Right here, UI kits. These are free kits. They're basically templates that you can use to redesign for your own app or website. Definitely want to check those out as well. And so this Hungry Room example, this is a free UI kit I downloaded from the web. I was trying to find something that is not exactly the assignment you're doing, but it's similar in nature. So before we jump in there, I'm going to show you just some tips and tricks for Adobe XD. Now, this is where I downloaded the free UI kit. And you can see this is the Hungry Roo. This is the Hungry Roo. It's a restaurant. It's a delivery service, so it's not exactly a restaurant, but it's pretty close to it. So, you can do a Google search for Adobe XD restaurant app free UI kit, and there's tons of them out there to get some ideas. But really, if you just do Adobe XD free UI kit, and you don't want to copy anyone else's design, but there's so many kits out there. Again, take a look, Google image search, lots and lots of free UI kits. You can learn so much by looking at these templates. I would never tell you just to take a template and reuse it, but it is a good basis for redesigning. You can learn so much, and I do recommend always trying to get a visual handle on what it is you're creating. Before you move into design, you need the visual aspect. So there's plenty of, some of these kits are in like Photoshop, but they're also in XD as well. So that's one way. Now, another thing you want to take a look at here, keyboard shortcuts. You're going to want to know what the keyboard shortcuts are. There's one in particular that I'll show you in Adobe XD, but this is on the Adobe XD site, and you can download these shortcuts. There's a whole PDF file on these. So something you want to keep on hand. It's not as extensive in the menu as, say, in Adobe Photoshop, but you want to know what the shortcuts are. Helps a lot, saves time, and cuts down on confusion. Okay, so let's take a look at the Adobe XD template. This is the Hungry Roo UI kit. So this is what a UI kit looks like when it comes pre-built. Now, most important function you will want to know in Adobe XD is how to get the hand, because UI kits, typically, if you see, you can just take one look at this. These are all the screens in the app. You'll never be able to see this. You're going to have to zoom in and you can't see everything. And I'm just using the commands on my keyboard to zoom in and out, your typical commands. But I'm holding down the space bar to get the hand so that I can drag. You can see how much you can build. I mean, this is even the screenshot that they used for the picture on the website where I downloaded this. But there's a lot with the template. I could take this and it gives me a visual idea of what do I need to create for a restaurant app. You can go download screenshots from apps that are already created and already out there, but you can also look at templates. Now this is in the design screen. If I want to go back to home, the home screen will pop up if I click that. On the design screen, this is where I can make all of my design changes. So I can go in here, zoom in a little bit more there. I can change text. You see how much I have to click to get down into layers, but I can change all of this. I can change my little graphics. I can insert things. And I have my menu, my menu above this too. And again, I'm holding on the space bar to drag. But it's very, very detailed when you download a kit. You can see I've got my colors here. Character styles. Now they don't have a lot of components. They don't have any components or videos. I'm not sure why. You would think graphics would be a component. The thing that I do want to show you, so you've got your design tools here. You're going to want to play around with those and learn those. Something as simple as creating a square. There's not a lot of difference between the functionality and the design tools. This right here is an artboard. So, for example, click on this. This would be one artboard. If you notice, if I click on this, there's some options there. Now, this is not a 100% completed working app. Obviously, it's a UI kit. It's something to get you started. So there's a lot of functionality that could be added, changed, or modified. If I click on the prototype screen, zoom out here. This is what I want to show you. Now, right now, so I've gone from design to prototype. And you can see the gray. Zoom in here. This is why the hand tool comes in. It's so handy, so to speak. If I click on this, and you can see the gray workflows here. So if someone were to click on those three dots, you see what would happen. In theory, when this is a working app, it will go to the next screen. And this is the little menu that pops up. If someone clicks on Help Center, now this one may not be completely outlined, but you've got the blue. They would have to have a help screen to determine, to show that's where the Help Center button goes to. Now, if someone clicked this screen, like I said, this may not be completely finished. Let's find a screen that is. So I'm going to go up here. If someone were to type in Kingsford here, and they got two options, but they typed in Kingsford here, and then they clicked go, it would take them down to this where it says we found multiple suburbs, and they would have to choose one. And you can see that this goes up here to this with the blue. This might, now I could actually click on this blue right here, and I could make it go here. Now it's still going to take me to this page. If I click on this, say for example, I click on this, I could have the blue go here. Now that may not be the actual way it works. What you have, and I'm hitting Command Z to get rid of some of these. But in real terms, what should happen is someone would click one of these options, and you see they have, let's say it's this one, for example, would go over here. So Crust Gourmet Pizza Bar, their workflow goes here. Now, I don't recommend, I would not recommend, I mean, if you've created apps before, but when you are creating this is an extensive UI kit, meaning there's a lot of functionality here. Do not feel that you need to do something that is complicated. Really, your app, you're redesigning an app, so it should be minimal at best, several screenshots, and you want to show the workflow. But this is just to give you an idea of what you could do in Adobe XD. It can get complicated though. So if I go back over here to my design, zoom out, and I click prototype, see if I can get this to show, you can see all of the different workflows, and there's a lot of them. Just a lot. And you can see how many, this can go up to here, this can go back to there, that can go to there. They've got, I think it was this one of these has the cart that goes all the way over here. And you can see how all of these workflows, all these user flows go to this screen. It can get really complicated. Again, this is just to show you what it can do, not to give you an expectation of what it should be doing, what you should be doing.
Okay, so there is a second part to this video that you can go to preview. You'll have to view how to turn your screenshots and import them into either Adobe XD or Figma. In this next video, I'm going to show you an overview that is already pre-recorded, overview of Figma. So you can decide if you want to use Adobe XD or Figma to recreate your restaurant app. So Figma overview. And again, I will provide you with these slides and all of the links to all the resources that are in this live session.
This is a short intro video to what's called Figma. Now, Figma and Adobe XD are both utilized extensively in user experience design, UX and UXI design. Figma is a free tool, online tool, and it's similar to Miro in a lot of respects because it has brainstorming options, but you can actually prototype websites and app designs. It does have a free version, but it also has a paid and upgraded version. So Adobe XD is the standard that you'll be utilizing, but Figma is also utilized heavily in UX design. So you really need to learn how to utilize both tools. So this is the Figma website, figma.com. You want to go ahead and sign up for an account. So you would click sign up. Now I've already created an account for myself. So again, it's just a normal sign up process. So for me, I'm going to log in. Hopefully it takes me right in. They don't have any issues here. Very similar dashboard to Miro. Now what you'll notice, and it's interesting, they also have a customer journey map template here. Lots of different templates and ideas. This is an alternate way of creating a customer journey map. You'll want to get to know the functions in Figma as well. There's lots of neat little tools here that you can use. There's sticky notes there. But you can see this is another type of customer journey map. So that's one thing you may want to get to know. It tells you a little bit about the template. Both tools are a great way to create customer journey maps. This one puts it a little bit differently: pain points, opportunities, actions, experience. So that's just another preview of another way to create a customer journey map. And you can see all the different menu options that Figma has. But what I want you to really see here in Figma, if you go into, there is Figma Basics here. And there's a Figma Basics template. Now, when you zoom in on this template and take note of all of the different functions that you can learn here, what you'll see is each one of these little boards has a label. And it's kind of like in Photoshop or other Adobe files, there's a little I button there. Adobe applications, I mean, there's a little I button. You can turn things off, turn things on. But notice here, these are your primary tools for Figma. Now I want to stay with the move, but my hand tool, obviously I want to be able to move this screen around. There's my zoom over here. And your controls on your keyboard work as well. So you may want to get to know those. And I'm going to go over here. So this is learn the basics of Figma. It's really a great way to learn Figma, to go through what all the different tools do. So I highly recommend that you do this exercise. And you can see right here, so select the frame tool and click and drag along the dotted line to create a new frame. So I would select the frame tool, just like it says. Actually, that's the frame tool, I'm sorry. Now you see you have lots of options over here on the other side, but so I've got frame, you see my down arrow, and then I'm going to create a frame here. And I've completed the first step. It's a great way to learn the tools. Resizes frames height. And you see the different options here. So I would go back here, select this. Now I can change the height. I can change the size. And even my undo command works for my keyboard. Components, understand what your components are, create a component. And you probably want to zoom in a little bit more, but this is a great way to get to know Figma through the Figma basics. Styles, you've got color styles here. So it's a little bit different. Each application is different, so you have to get to know where all the functions are. But you've got your text styles over here. So you can see this selection colors, layer, fill, applying styles. I'm just going to zoom out a little bit. Smart selection. Exporting, and this is again, it's just a great way to a very simple exercise to get to know. And you can do commenting and sharing. So up here you've got sharing. You can copy the link to it and share it. You can share it through the system. You can also, there's an embed code. So you would be able to place this in, say, a website, something like that, or online. If I copied the link, I could share that in, a chat, or text it to someone, or email it to someone. There's also publish to community. So if you want to get feedback from others in the Figma community, I think that's a big proponent. That's a big reason to use Figma. So, and it shows you, if you zoom in, let's see if I zoom in some more. I think that's one of the hardest things about using the UX design apps is moving around in them, because you really have to zoom in to see everything. But there's a whole lot of interesting stuff. There's permissions, but you can also share an individual frame. So you can be picky and choosy about what you're sharing. Notice also there's lock and unlock here. This would be, let's see if I can go back over here. So like let's see, you can turn something, let me zoom back out so you can see. Zoom out. Here's my keyboard. It's a lot easier to use with keyboard function, obviously. Let's say I wanted to turn off my chats mock-up, I could do that. So they have them categorized. They've got their instructions locked, but then the actual pieces that you can play around with and modify, they're unlocked. So it's just like other Adobe applications. And you've got little down arrows here. So everything's really organized. So again, this is just a little bit of an overview intro to Figma.
Okay, so with that being said, you will get to choose which program or software that you would like to work in. So you can decide to use Adobe XD or Figma. Both pretty much do the same things. And now I would like to show you a video of the difference between Adobe XD and Figma, and then you can decide.
Welcome back to our UX Everything YouTube channel. At the time of starting to develop our designs and pages, we must make sure that we have the necessary tools to ensure a comfortable and efficient work, from a comfortable desk and chair, a good computer, and, also, a good program in which to work. And sometimes for the amount or similarities between the options that exist, makes it difficult to determine which is the most useful or the best for us. Here at UX Everything we know that each designer is different and needs different tools and utilities depending on their work method. That is why we will proceed to comment on the advantages and differences between the two most used applications by UX designers, Adobe XD and Figma. Adobe XD. Adobe XD is a program that allows us to design, develop and edit interfaces for web pages, phone applications and other utilities, as well as allowing us to share them with our work team to show results and progress, as its name indicates, Adobe Experience Design. The main objective of this tool is to facilitate the creation of experiences, and provide UX designers with the necessary tools to create a great work. XD presents you with two options, Design, and Prototype. When you start it, in the first you have all the display options, colors you want to use, shapes for buttons, font size along with its typography, interface margins and other different tools of this visual side of design, as simple as choosing the artboard you want to design for iPhone, desktop, tablet, app, and then start giving freedom to your ideas. The prototype option focuses on the page and user interaction, where the user will click and what will generate that click, buttons, drop-downs, hyperlinks, even places where nothing is generated. This part of the program allows you to observe and simulate the interactions of the user to ensure that everything works as planned and as expected. After preparing the design and the prototype, you can send it to anyone in your team to test it and navigate it as a standard user would. In this option, we find one of the great advantages of the application, because the testers can leave comments on the same page, which facilitates the delivery and location of the information, because they can leave these comments near where that error or idea was generated. This increases the effectiveness of the page when it going out to the web, because when going through these tests, the errors that may go unnoticed are drastically reduced. Another of the main tools of the application is that in addition to allowing you to work online together with your team where everyone can see the development of the page in real time, Adobe XD also constantly saves a history of changes, which allows you as a designer to return to previous versions in case of errors, or if you want to try other design options. This makes it very useful when experimenting and seeing the page from different points of view. Figma. The other option and also one of the most used is Figma. Created for the realization of prototypes, designs and interfaces, it offers us a large number of tools that allow us to comfortably design and advance in our projects and work. The peculiarity of Figma is that it works from a web browser. Although it has desktop versions, they reproduce a browser and from there they open Figma. Figma's always online nature gives many of its advantages, such as the fact that it is one of the best for online joint work. Its connection is stable and fast when it comes to showing the changes made by the members of your team, which facilitates the interaction and coordination of the work. In addition, even if the connection is lost, if you had already opened Figma, you can continue working without any problem, and these changes will be saved at the time of get your connection back, so you won't lose or fall behind on your work. This facility that Figma presents us with in relation to connectivity is an advantage that has been known to exploit, especially in recent times due to remote work, but it does not mean that it is the only outstanding feature of the application. Figma also has a tool called Component Library, where the designer can upload any component necessary for the design, and it will be accessible to the entire work team. This facilitates the distribution of tools among the workers, since it is only necessary for one to upload it to the library, so that everyone can use it, avoiding loss of quality, size or alterations of color and resolution. Figma also allows you to test your prototypes through code generation. The page can generate different types of code, SVG, CSS, iOS and Android. In this way the testing phase can be carried out on different devices, and by different types of users, giving a broader and more detailed vision of the virtues and errors of the project. After talking about both programs, it is easy to notice how each one has its own advantages and individualities, be it connectivity, tools it offers, or facilities at the time of testing. And as we mentioned at the beginning of the post, each designer is different and works in diverse ways, so each one will be able to determine which of these programs would work best for him and for his team. With the general definitions that we provide, we hope that this information help you and facilitate the decision.
Let's go ahead and discuss the week 5 assignment. So this week you will create the first iteration of your app redesign using Adobe XD. Your final redesign will be due in week 7. And then you will watch the second assignment video on how to import your app screenshots and design your app user flow in either Adobe XD or Figma. And remember to save your file frequently, just to be careful and be safe, just to ensure that all of your work is saved before you leave the application. It is important to save while you go. Now, I'm going to leave you guys with some reminders since we are towards the end of our live session. So this is your week 5 to-do list. I have posted this week 5 to-do list already within the announcement section, so you can always go back and reference to it. And so we're going to discuss some of the assignments and some of the materials that are required for week 5. Now, you need to go back and watch and check out the week 5 overview. Attend your week 5 live events. This is the AM session, and then later on today we have our PM session. Then you will read chapters 7 through 8 in the book The Joy of UX. Also, you'll engage in your Yellow Dig discussion during week 5. Your initial post is due tomorrow, Wednesday. I'll also leave you another announcement just to ensure that you know of the deadlines that are approaching. In your Yellow Dig discussion, since we weren't able to do the breakout session, you will showcase your card sorting assignment that you submitted in week 4. You want to be able to engage with your classmates. So it's a requirement to have at least one person provide you with feedback, and then you also need to go in and provide someone else with feedback for their card sorting assignment. That way you can take that feedback and apply it when you are creating your app redesign. Again, by Sunday in your Yellow Dig discussion, it is important for you to earn up to 1,000 points. That is 100% participation in Yellow Dig. So ensure that you are not only posting your initial post in Yellow Dig, but also going back and engaging, providing your classmates with feedback. And I will also engage with you in Yellow Dig as well to help you earn those points. Now, you do have to complete your Learn It assignment, which is about app design. Again, start early to finish early because this will take a couple of days to complete, and that is due Sunday. And then lastly, you have your activity for week 5, which is redesigning in either Adobe XD or Figma, and that is due on Sunday. Now, we are towards the end of our very first live session. This is week 5, and this is the AM session. So do you have any questions for me? And if you don't have any questions now, but you have questions later, you can definitely send over a message, either text or send a message to me in the Canvas inbox, and I will respond back to you with any ideas that you may have, any questions or concerns that you need to address. I am here to help you. All right, you guys. So I will see you guys later on in today's live session, the live session number 5 p.m. session. And in that session, we will discuss usability testing. This is for week 6. Because we do not have a live session next week, I just want to ensure that our PM session is going to cover week 6. And then, of course, I'll post everything that we discussed in the announcement section. Now, if you are watching the replay for this video, please make sure to submit all of the takeaways from the questions asked through this live session so you can receive credit. But if you don't have any questions, thank you guys for attending the live session, and I'll see you guys later at 5 p.m. All right, bye. Have a great one.